What's up? This is my step-by-step leather sheath video for the knife I recently made. And if you haven't caught that video, I will link it in the description. First, you're going to want to trace your knife. Here I am tracing out what is called the welt, and it's just the spacer that goes between the two sides so that your knife isn't actually cutting your sheath. After cutting that, I realized I made my belt loop a little too small, so after repeating that process, the next step is to use your beveling tool to bevel your edges. Next step is just to mark where you want your belt loop to be. Because I'm going to be connecting the two smooth sides of the leather together, I'm going to score both sides before gluing up. Next, it's time to dye the leather, and I believe I put 3 or 4 coats on this, just trying to get a smooth finish. Here I'm putting a couple bevels on the inside of the spine just to help the leather bend. Next step is to glue up the belt loop, and you want to put a little glue where you scored it earlier, let that dry, and then put another little bit before you fold it back over. After letting that dry for about 15 minutes, I then marked and pre-drilled for some stitching. I didn't get any footage of the stitching on the belt loop, but it's the exact same stitching I did on the face. Next, it's time to glue up the edge. Here I'll be using the welt I cut out in the beginning of the video as a spacer. This little space is intentional, and it's there so that if water gets in your sheath, it has a place to drain. After letting that dry another 15, it was time to clean that edge up with the belt sander. After that, it was time to repeat the process of marking and pre-drilling for the stitching. Saddle stitching was the style of stitching I chose, and the material was artificial sinew. After cutting in some decorative grooves, I actually mixed a little bit of black and red dye together because I was still unhappy with how the color looked. Here I'm soaking the sheath in some warm water so I can form fit the knife. Before I put the knife inside the sheath though, I put a little bit of oil on it and wrapped it in some plastic just to keep it from rusting. After forming the sheath to the knife, I let it sit in there for about an hour before removing it and then letting the sheath dry overnight.